Yo, what is good? It is your boy Mal back at it with another episode of Behind the Panels. Today we have some dope guests today. We have Chris from Fear the Incisors talking about his latest project, which is fire. Trust me, he sent me a little care package. My God, the book is dope. 4 books. He sent me 4 books. Fire. You know what I'm saying? We also have Jonathan Colton from Colton Comics. He was with us today talking about the dope projects he's got. Three Brothers Gruff and Paul Bunyan versus Dracula. Man, waiting till you guys see this. But on that note, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you check out the website, felonarchives.com. Always keeping it up to date with some dope stuff. Check out the merch. You already know the shadowrack.shop. Stay with some dope fly gear on that. But enough about me. Let's get on to today's episode and see what we got cooking. Thanks for joining today, folks. We have a very special guest. We got Chris Gaines with his project, Fear the Incisors. And let me tell you, he sent me some artwork. I'm really digging this. It's you said it's a vampire story, right? From the information you sent me.
Yeah. It's about a 16-year-old boy. It's based here in Mobile, the beginning of it, and then it
Mm-hmm.
goes into Biloxi, Mississippi, and ends in New Orleans. But it's about a 16-year-old boy that went missing on a from a field trip to New Orleans, school field trip.
Yeah.
Didn't make it back to the bus. Cops can't find her. She's just MIA. Nobody has any clue where she's at. And so the kid hears an urban legend that there's a vampire that lives in the Church Street Cemetery in Mobile. And the kid realizes that he needs resources that the police don't have. So he goes and makes a deal. He finds this vampire. He goes one
Mm-hmm.
night, stumbles upon him accidentally, even though he's looking for him,
Yeah.
and realizes the vampire is actually a reasonable guy for as far as vampires go. He makes a deal with him to get him to help him out. And the vampire kind of feels for him, and he's like, okay, I'll give you a hand, so but you got to
Mm-hmm.
do exactly as I say. So anyway, they head to on this trek to New Orleans from Mobile, which is about a 3 hour drive, but it some other stuff ensues. Yeah, along the way, some couple of vampire hunters get in their way, and they get pulled over by a dirty cop with a itchy trigger finger, and lots of stuff happens along the way. And the vampire realizes along the way that he's actually has some heart left because he starts digging the kid. He kind of likes
Yeah.
him. Realizes
Okay.
he's not totally. So it's got some heart to it. It's not just a
Okay.
slasher story.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing, and like I said, the artwork, man, I'm gonna show it and have it up too. Right now, I'm really digging the one where the hands are like kind of holding the woman's face, and she's like
Yeah,
got her mouth open. That is dope, and the one with the screaming skull, I love
yeah.
it. Yeah, I'm really digging it, definitely.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
is this part of like a bigger universe you're working on, or these are just it's series in its own?
No, this is the 4 parts that I've got out now. It's taken me 13 months to get these done,
Okay,
and I just released number 4 about
nice.
a month ago. And that this storyline it wraps up kind of uh, on number 4. But the vampire hunters that I told you about, they're kind of idiots. They're kind of redneck idiots, and they kind of you when you get into number 1 issue, the end of issue number 1, you realize how they screwed themselves on this whole thing. And so number 5 that I'm working on now kind of jumps back to tell what led the it's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It starts
Hmm.
off with the demise of these two idiots, vampire
Okay.
would be vampire hunters, and goes back to what led them to want to be vampire hunters.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, definitely digging that. Before we jump further on, on more projects, man, let's get to know you a little bit. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I actually got started in the music industry back in '91 when I was 21.
Okay.
And yeah, I moved to Nashville and wanted to be a custom guitar builder. And
All right.
what happened is actually in '89, I snuck backstage at a Poison concert in Mississippi
Mm-hmm.
and met Brett Michaels. And security caught us and was going to throw us out. And Brett Michaels stopped him and
Yeah.
took me and my buddy on the bus and hung out and had a beer with him
Oh,
and shot the
nice.
shit with him. Yeah, you'd think he'd be wanting to hang out with all these groupies and stuff, but he was kind of over it by that point, you know. And I said, told him I was going to be a custom guitar builder, and I said, I'm going to build you a guitar one day. And he said, I hope you do. And so anyway, he signed the stuff that we had with us, you know, that gave us autographs and pictures and all, and we left. So fast forward, '91, I moved to Nashville and got the job with Gibson Guitars. The day I
Okay.
moved into town, it was just a pure happenstance, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, that I happened to get there on the day that this guy heard me asking the security guard for an application, and he was coming
Mm-hmm.
back from lunch, and he ended up being my supervisor. He hired me that day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's what's
So
up, man.
Yeah. So anyway, a couple years later, um, Poison had a new album come out, and Brett Michaels came in, and I was working on his guitar. And I said, I told
Wow.
you one day I'd be building you a guitar, and I did. And so he
Nice.
and I became friends like that. And so anyway, I ended up building guitars for everybody from Ace Frehley, from Kiss, Slash,
Wow.
from Guns N' Roses. I mean, every day it was Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. Every day
Wow.
somebody different coming in, you know.
That's awesome, man. That
Yeah,
is
so,
awesome.
so I did that for 20 years, and then I went on the road as a guitar tech for a lot of country and rock artists and stuff, and
Okay.
ended up with a heart issue that I didn't know I
Mm.
had. So it's a young man's game. So I was
Yeah.
52 at the time. So I settled into shifted gears into art, you know, which is was always my other passion besides music.
Okay.
And so that's what led me to this. You know, I've got
Nice.
yeah, my heart issue is called pulmonary hypertension, and it
Mm.
really sucks the energy out of people, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
kind of
now,
wanted to set an example for people that
yeah.
have that, you know, that you can put your mind to finishing a project and see
Yeah,
it through.
absolutely. Yeah. You definitely there's if your heart's in it, literally, you could just keep going. You could keep going as far as you want, you know. Now,
Yeah.
are you the artist and the writer, or do you just do one part of the story?
Now I wrote the story out, I scripted it, and then went back and started doing all the artwork. I do it all
Oh,
myself, and I
oh,
self-publish.
nice.
Yeah, I actually
Nice.
I've self-published this with no help from Kickstarter or no
Nice.
crowdfunding. I did it myself. Yeah.
Nice. Now being um the artist and the writer, like you're pretty much taking on everything. How difficult is that to even just do one issue?
It was
Because I could
tricky.
imagine. I could only imagine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, what I did, I kind of had the storyline in my mind, and
yeah.
I sat down and just made like bullet points, and and I'm horrible with technology, absolutely terrible. That's why this is completely hand drawn. None of this is photoshopped, or I don't use any digital
Nice.
help. And you can tell it when you see it. You see my, you know, when I paint a background, you know, you can see the brush marks and stuff like that. And I know how to airbrush, but I'm physically airbrush using a Pache VO1 airbrush to airbrush.
Nice.
I'm not doing it on Photoshop airbrush, you know. And so what I did, I sat down with a pen and a piece and a notebook and made bullet points. I couldn't even know how to do it on a computer. Most people make bullet points on
Yeah,
Microsoft
yeah,
Word or something. And I
yeah.
actually sat down and made bullet points of how, you know, what scene,
um,
you know, what pages need to have what scene and what they needed to say, you know, and just kind of
nice.
scripted it out, you know, very rudimentary and for myself. So I knew what each issue needed to portray, you know, and then just
Yeah.
kind of winged it as I went, you know.
Nice, nice. Now being, coming from, you had the music industry background and now, we're you like you said you've had passion for wanting to do this and now you're in it. Like, what does creating comic books give you that, you really can't find elsewhere or comparable to, your experience in the working in the music industry?
Well, the thing about, you know, working in for the guitar company, because I worked for Gibson for 11 years and Fender for 9, and then went to
Hmm.
work on the road after that, for a few years, as a freelance guitar tech for whoever. I just jumped from tour to tour. Um, with that, you're making somebody else's dream come true. And
Yeah.
with this, I'm making my dream come true. So, um, it was just, with the pulmonary hypertension thing, I passed out 5 times in 7 days. So it really scared the daylights out of me.
No, I
Actually,
hear that.
actually died, yeah, actually died on the table, and they had to
Damn.
use
Sorry to hear that.
defibrillators to bring me back. Yeah, so I
Oh,
was like that
yeah.
close.
You
And
were just
so,
right there on death's
yeah,
door, pretty much.
yep, yep.
Damn.
And that happened twice actually.
Wow.
So I actually, feel like I was given a new lease on life, and that kind of lit a fire under me. Even though some days I'm exhausted from the time I wake
Yeah.
up. It's just the
Mm.
nature of the beast with that particular illness. But it just it when I figured out what I was going to do, because I was like, I can't work now.
Yeah.
I've got to have, I still play music for
Hmm.
myself, but I can't play in a band. I can't be in a smoky bar. I can't be around,
Yeah.
and I don't drink. I quit drinking 10 years ago, so I don't
Okay.
party anymore. Those days are past.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so I had to, I could either just lay around and wait to die, or I could, find another passion for myself to keep me going. And
Yeah.
so now when I tour, I travel, I tour, and I go to Comic Cons, and that's how I was
Yeah.
able to sell the amount of books that I have. In 13 months, I've sold over 1,000 books, so that's
Wow.
not
And
bad.
like you said, no Kickstarter, no crowdfunding, just pretty
Mhm.
much direct to consumer. Now,
Yeah.
aside from the cons, do you sell them like on a website or anything, or just straight in person?
Yeah, no, I use Mercari.com,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
people can hit me up on my Facebook page as well. I'm actually getting ready to put the merchant stuff on my Facebook page, which you can just do a keyword search on Fear the
Yeah.
Incisors and pull
Nice.
up my Facebook page and contact me like that. And it's actually a little cheaper that way. With Mercari, they set the shipping prices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Mercari.com?
Yeah, yeah, I'm familiar
Yeah.
with that, and there's other ones as well that I've seen around on the app shops and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was
Hmm.
using Etsy for a while, but their price, they I had to charge
Yeah,
so much for them. It's not even worthwhile.
yeah. You ever consider having your own like .com, your own website, and have your own like
Yeah, I'm kicking that
e-commerce thing?
around. Yeah, I'm kicking that around actually.
Huh.
But
Well, if you ever want to
you
go that route, let me know because I'm also aside from comics and you because I have a music background too. I've been doing hip hop music since I was. Forget about it. Who knows? That's how long it's been. I'm already in my 40s, so pretty much more than half my life. But one of my main passions has always been kind of like business and branding. So, I could handle all that stuff. If you ever want to talk about it, I'll give you
okay.
some advice or things like that. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause me personally, one thing I've always known was you need a website. Have your
Yeah.
website. Have your website. You can you pretty much set your own rules. You don't have to pay like Etsy. They take a cut, you know,
Yeah.
PayPal everything takes a cut. You know what I'm saying? But this is kind of like, what you set is what you set, aside from, processing fees from like credit card companies that there's no wiggling around that. But, you get more bang for your buck that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Because I
yeah,
sell
I mean,
print. When I do
what was that?
the Comic Cons and comic shops, I go to comic shops and do signings there as well.
Yeah.
And I have some, art prints that I sell as well.
Okay, Prince too.
So
Yeah, I would definitely. Do you have that? Do you have a print with that screaming skull?
no, I don't have a print of that yet, but this is one I just finished the other day.
Oh,
It
that
says,
is
a
amazing.
good friend will help you move, but a great friend will help you move a body.
Yes, I
And
need that. That is awesome. That
I've
is
got,
amazing.
I've got stickers of that too. I'll send you some, one of everything I've got too.
Oh, that is amazing.
And I've got that.
Oh my God.
That's one
Yo,
of the
y'all
characters.
seeing? I hope y'all paying attention to this artwork here.
That's one of the characters in the comic book. That's Cheney.
That looks like that. That is amazing. That's how my baby mom looks. But she's mad at me. But yo, my God, that is
Man,
amazing.
this is a favorite at the cons. A lot of people like this one.
Yo, that is beautiful. Oh
Thanks.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely digging it. Holy.
I'm a big Frankenstein fan, and
I could tell.
I do some originals on canvas as well. I did this is the first one I did 2 years ago. You know that I just
Oh man.
myself. You know,
Oh man, I love that movie, and it's quite weird. I have two copies of that on DVD. I
oh
don't know
really?
why, but I love that movie. Oh man,
That was one of
especially
my.
the Twisted Sister song that pretty much opens it.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I love that song. Oh my
yeah.
God, matter of fact, I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that was kind of my main influence for my books. That's the kind of vibe that I wanted for my comics. You know,
yo, yeah, you're
yeah,
definitely
I kind of wanted to.
definitely hitting the mark on that one, if not going above and beyond, because that is great. Hell
Oh,
yeah. I
I
love
kind of
it.
wanted
I love it.
that rock and roll vibe. You know, I'm like
Oh yeah.
if you look at the you know they kind of look like album covers. You know, if you look at the
Yeah.
covers of my comic books, they almost look like a Rob Zombie album cover or
Yeah.
something.
I
You
could
know?
definitely see the
So,
music influence in your artwork.
and that's number four. That's the one with the screaming skull that you like.
Yeah, I love that one. I love that one. I absolutely love that one. But now going back to, when you started, getting into creating your comics, has there ever been a period where you question like what am I doing? Or am I even doing this?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
ever come across? Yeah.
my first couple of cons, I was praying because I only when I my first small con that I did, I only
Okay.
had two issues out and two prints, you know, and for walked over to my table and I literally took a minute and went and prayed, you know, and I said, God,
Yeah.
if I'm barking up the wrong tree with this, you know, let me know, you know.
hmm
And I couldn't believe it. I made like $300 in the last 4 hours of the con. I mean, it was amazing. All of a sudden, you know. So it's funny if people think that praying doesn't help. I got
Yeah,
news
no,
for
it
you.
it
It's
definitely helps. I
yeah.
remember it's been a couple cons, even, after, I had some buzz on my work where I think even now I still have a little bit of that anxiety where, oh my God, is this gonna work out? Is anyone
Yeah,
even gonna buy anything or
yeah.
anything like that? And I remember I did a con in New Mexico. This was kind of right after, COVID, where things started opening up and
Oh
cons
yeah,
started coming back. I felt so out of place. It's
yeah.
especially not having been in that environment for about like 3 years.
Right.
And then I'm far from home. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I'm from New York. Like I'm way out of my place. And I was like, man, I hope I sell at least one book. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. But luckily, I was able to. I did pretty well. I did pretty well that week. I think I want to say I pulled in at least 1,000 for the weekend.
oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
and I was so thankful because even I was like, God, please don't make this trip be a bus. Don't
Yeah,
make this trip be a bus.
you want to at least cover your expenses, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thankful for that. But it's been a minute since I've gotten back into the con scene because I'm just starting everything back up again. I put a lot of
Yeah,
things on pause to
yeah,
just further my education because that's gonna help me with this. You know
yeah,
what I mean? But I want to touch on something else, especially since you do the artwork and everything is. You said you don't use Photoshop; you're doing everything by
yeah.
hand. You know, when it comes down to revisions, like how is that? Like, is it a bigger of a headache being that everything is done by hand on paper, or
Well,
like how does that work for you?
well, what I do, I make safety copies of everything. I've got a copier here at the house, and so once I pencil something, I go make a copy of it in case when I'm inking it, I blow it. You know,
Yeah.
once I'm happy
Okay.
with it, and so then when I ink it, I go make a safety copy in case of when I'm coloring it. everything's grayscale. Like if you look at this is the inside cover. You know, that's 5 shades of
That
gray.
is amazing. My God.
Nice.
That's a
That's just like
tattoo right there. That is a
that's
tat. I would get that tatted right away. I would get that tatted. Matter of fact, I want that as a tattoo. I would definitely get that as a tattoo. That is crazy.
yeah. I'll shoot you copies of all the books when we're done here. I'll get your address and shoot you copies of all the books.
Oh
But
man.
that's 5 different shades of gray that I use. So
Wow.
before I color it, after I've inked it, then I go make safety copies of that, make two
Yeah.
copies. And so that way, if I need to revise anything, I can go back and fix it on the safety copy, so I've got a
Nice.
couple of extras. So I've got two copies of everything, every page. Once
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with the pencil, then I make safety copies. So
Nice, nice, nice,
so that's
nice.
the
Like,
only that's the only cheat code that I use. I don't use any Photoshop
hey,
or anything.
whatever works, man,
I
especially
wish I
doing
knew.
it
I
by
wish I
hand.
knew how to use AI and Photoshop. I'm pretty dumb. I mean, I only have a computer. I use a Chromebook.
Mhm.
I don't even have a real computer. So
Yeah, I mean, Photoshop, Photoshop could be tricky. I mean, I've
yeah,
been using Photoshop since like the early 2000s, and
yeah,
I'm gonna say like a novice at best. Like I know
yeah.
just the basics and
Yeah,
to do
it's
what I
it
need to do, but everything
it's
it does is forget about it. I don't think anyone uses
yeah,
anything 100%, you know?
yeah. It's an art form in itself. I'm not knocking anybody who does it. I wish I could color with it, but it'd
Hmm.
be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But,
You ever tried using maybe like an iPad? Because I know they got like it's supposed to be easier for some
oh,
reason.
really?
Yeah, like they have like
Hmm.
Procreate, and I heard it's a lot easier to use like the iPad with like the pencil
Yeah,
on like Procreate opposed to like trying to do it like on Photoshop. But then again, I'm not an artist. I would not
yeah,
know. This is just like, what I've heard
yeah.
from other artists.
It-
Even
it-
my daughter, when she's an artist and always on paper, and then she
mhm.
wanted to get into digital. We tried some tablets you connect to the PC. Tried a few of those. It wasn't
Yeah,
really catching, but once
yeah.
I got her the iPad, it's like she picked it up like
Really. I think
right
it would
away.
take the fun out of it for me though, because I mean that's part of the fun is drawing, and
Yeah. Hmm.
if I just touch a thing and touch it to a background and it colors it for me, that's
Hmm.
that's taking my fun out of it. That's sucking the
Yeah.
fun out of it for
Oh
me.
yeah. And from what I and like right now, I'm loving your artwork.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Even just the gray tones. I
Yeah,
feel like it works even better.
yeah,
I feel like the image pops out more. I feel like it gives
yeah.
it more depth like that. I mean, that's just that's my
Yeah.
opinion, but it looks amazing.
Thank you. I
Especially that
appreciate
one I just saw. I need that as a tattoo for sure.
it.
Now have you ever had to like kind of scrap an idea, especially like when you kind of got into the drawing phase and I was, like, you know what? Let me crumble up. This is not working. Let
I
me
just,
toss this to the side after
I,
spending hours on it. Like, you know what? Nope,
yeah,
this is it.
I just did
Back to
that
the
with
drawing board.
the one I was talking about a while ago. I'm working on number 5 now, which goes back to talk about the two goofy
Yeah.
vampire hunters. The first page of that I got it completely done and I scrapped it. I didn't think it was good enough, and I crumbled it up and threw it away and started over. And it's a lot better now. I'm happier with it. Every time I've done
Okay.
that, I'm a lot happier with it.
Nice, nice. Now,
Yeah.
how many issues is this story gonna go into?
I'm just going to keep going with it
Okay.
indefinitely. I'm just going to keep going because there's with these particular characters, like the kid's name is Chuck. He's 16, and the sister, she's a twin sister, so she's the same age, but she's not going to be in any further ones, I don't think. Um, that helps him out. His name's Levon, and he is 200 years old, but looks like he's 35. He's eternally 35. And then his dog's name is Cheney. His,
Okay.
he's got his hellhound that keeps an eye on him while he sleeps. His name's Cheney for obvious reasons. In case
Oh
all
yeah.
people don't know, Lon Chaney was the big Wolfman actor. So that can possibly give away Cheney's secret.
Yeah.
Um, when the moon gets full, Cheney has a dual life. So
Nice, nice. Now, do you have anything else in the pipeline aside from this story? Like any maybe expansions or even something completely different? Is there anything else that you're gonna be working on down the line?
I think everything's going to stay in this because when I'm not working on this, I'm doing prints. I'm coming up with prints and doing original art too.
Okay.
On canvas. Actual pieces that I sell on canvas. Actually, most of my pieces on canvas I donate and let different charities do raffles for them and stuff. So
All right. Nice,
yeah.
nice, nice. Now, you know, you're you're like because I kind of want to touch on revisions a little bit because right now I'm just like even right now I'm going through a bunch of revisions in the project I'm working on. Like, how has your revision process changed over time, or like, are you like able to like kind of keep your revisions low and you're knocking them out the park one shot, or you've kind
Yeah.
of came up with like a system that works for you?
Well, I've got a real cheap tablet, and if I have any question, I'll sketch it on this cheap tablet first. Just do a rough
Yeah.
sketch of it, and I look at it from a fan's point of view. Like
Mhm.
if I was not an artist at all, I look at it from the point of view of a reader who's coming in blind, and doesn't know anything about me or doesn't know anything about art, just appreciates good comics. And I
Uh-huh.
look at it from that point of view. I try and separate myself, and look at it. And if it if I don't think it's going to work, I just scrap
Mhm.
the idea and kind of go to plan B.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. And you mentioned you do a lot of like in-store signings. Like how did you approach like these comic retailers to even get into that space where they're like, yeah, we'll set you up with a table in our shop on a such and such day, and like how does a creator go get to that point?
Most of them I just went to. Started off around here, and it's a very comic shops. A lot of people don't realize are very close knit. Like they talk to each other online.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
if you're a pain in the ass, you're
They're
going to
gonna
be
know.
known as a pain in the ass. But but the key is to make yourself as easy to deal with. Have your
Mhm.
own table, all your stuff, and go in and don't be obtrusive and get in the way, and be very cognizant of this guy's space because their shop is their home. They
Yeah,
you know so
exactly.
so you've got to behave yourself as if you're a guest in somebody's home when you're in there. And so I make myself as easy to deal with as possible, and just meet them, and just it's always been a handshake deal, where you just go in, introduce yourself, give them a couple copies, let them check it out, and it's been incredibly you know
Nice.
they've been incredibly receptive, and I've actually made some great friends, that way. So
Nice. Nice. Now, do you have any comic shops anywhere, whether it's local or other places that actually sell your books in their stores?
yeah, there's
Nice.
several. There's a couple I can think of offhand that are along the coast here. Signature Comics and Collectibles and Port City Comics. And when they do that, I always because it doesn't cost me anything extra, I always throw an ad for their shop in the
Yeah.
back of my books. And
Nice.
there's another one here for Port City Comics here in Mobile. If they
Okay.
do that, I'll throw an ad in there for them. For you know, it doesn't cost me a dime. That was going to be a blank spot, on the
Yeah.
back
All
cover.
right.
So
All right. Now, do you print these yourself, or you go through a printer?
yeah, I use a printer here in Mobile, and
Okay.
like the initial invest, it hasn't cost me. I have no more money except the initial run was $250 dollars for 100 books, and once I sold those 100, I just put the money back into it
Yeah.
for issue two, and some more
Yeah.
issue number ones, I've just snowballed it. I haven't made a lot of money on it, but it's paid for itself, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. At least you didn't have to like lose money on it. Every project is
Yeah,
paying for the next. That's what's up.
yeah. And
Hmm.
I found a long time ago playing in bar bands in Nashville and stuff. If you're in music or art for the money, you're in it for the wrong reasons
Wrong.
anyway. You know,
Exactly.
you got to do it for the love of what you're doing. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
and so,
if you do this for the money, you're gonna be very disappointed.
yeah,
You're gonna be very,
get
very
that
disappointed.
one
And I feel like that goes across the entire spectrum of entertainment.
right, right.
Whether you're a filmmaker, a playwright, an artist, a
Yeah,
comic book, anything. If you come today talking about, I'm gonna make this project, and by the end of the year, I want to be rich,
yeah.
you're gonna have a shit year.
Exactly.
You're gonna have a shitty year.
You're gonna be sadly disappointed. The
Yeah,
only way, yeah, the only way I really see making any real money is if my the end game is to get this made into either a movie or a series,
yeah,
mini series, and the plus side of that is two of the networks, the streaming networks, have bought all four books from me. The executives have bought,
nice,
yeah, from two
nice.
different
Yeah,
ones, so I've got a shot at that
there
happening.
you go. You got even that,
So,
even just any kind of someone with some kind of power in any of these
yeah,
places interested in your work. That could be a,
yeah,
that could be a name drop during a
yeah,
meeting. Like, hey, did anybody has any idea? Like, yeah, you know what? I picked up these books from such and such, and it seems like this is, yeah. But other than that, this trying to make trying to make money, like trying to get rich
yeah,
during doing any of this.
yeah,
Is it possible? Absolutely, anything is possible.
sure.
Is it gonna
Especially,
happen
yeah,
right away? Unless,
especially if they make a 4-part series on Hulu
yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that, or on Tubi. Tubi is doing a lot of stuff right now with.
yeah. Oh yeah, they just
So,
brought up a bunch of old school cartoons that they're gonna be putting out.
yeah,
Yeah, like lightning strikes, but not to everybody. Like
yeah,
there may be those that get lucky and put out something that quickly grabs somebody's attention, but you're gonna
yeah,
be putting in work for years.
yeah.
For
That's why
years.
my advice to everybody is cover your ass. Make sure everything's copyrighted and trademarked.
Everything. Yeah,
I've got
that's the most important
every
part.
I've got everything trademarked, even um the skull right there at the top of
Yeah,
my that's my logo. I've even
yeah,
got that trademarked, so nobody
yeah,
can.
everything. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people forget, or they don't really know this going in. Once you decide to make this project, any project, now you're a business
Yeah,
now. And you
yeah,
got to protect that because,
yeah,
and we've mentioned this time and time again. And as you guys can see, this is real deal.
mhm,
You need to protect your IP. You need to protect your IP, protect it, whether
sure,
it's your logo, you need to because
yeah,
somebody it could come around, be like, you know what? I like this. I'm gonna steal it for myself.
yeah,
And the next thing you
yeah,
know, the money, the riches you wanted, somebody else is gonna make
yeah.
it, and then you're gonna feel,
And
you're
there's
gonna
people
feel
out
like
there that
shit.
make no bones about snagging your stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually found where somebody had taken my skull the other day and was making T-shirts and stickers, and I had to send him I've got a friend that's an attorney here in town, and
See,
send him a cease and desist.
look
And
at
it was
that.
that exact skull.
See what I'm saying? Look at that.
Yeah,
Look, you hear it here. Just the logo, the skull. Somebody's
yeah,
making money off T-shirts and stickers. Now,
yeah,
that's what like $30 a shirt, maybe
yeah,
$5 a sticker. Who knows how
yeah,
much they've sold? They could have sold three. They could have sold 300.
yeah,
That's money. That's money out of your wallet, out of your bank account, off your
absolutely.
plate.
Because I
You
sell
know,
stickers at the signings. I sell stickers of all this,
yeah.
all my logos of the Fear the Incisors logo and the skull and crossbones.
Exactly. And where you're
Mhm.
when you're at a con or meet and greet or in store signing, you don't know who these people are. Like
Right.
who knows who's there? coming
Yeah.
to your table and and chatting it up with you or just passing by. You don't know. They could be somebody that has that could make something happen, and they just what,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he ain't got his stuff copyrighted or
Yeah.
anything like they. What are the odds of them, and then next thing you know, they snatching your stuff up, man, and that's horrible because we put a lot of time and effort and our own money into this,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
this shit ain't cheap. Like you said, you paid what, 250 for 100 books. That's
Hmm.
$250, not
Yeah.
including the time you spent creating the story, writing it,
Exactly.
hand drawing it. Like you
Yeah.
say, you're doing this by hand, and
Yeah.
it takes time. So
Yeah.
it's not always a financial loss. It's a complete loss.
Yeah. It's your heart and soul that you put into it. Um, a lot of people don't realize though, once you put from 1990 on, once you put something into a tangible form, it's protected to a certain degree. When you
Yeah.
put the little C in a circle next to it, when
Hmm.
you from 1990 on, anything pre 1990, you had to register it. But I still highly suggest people register it now
Hmm.
because even since 1990, because just because you put it in, you were protected to a certain degree, but it gives you a little more
Yeah.
of a shield
Hmm.
when you actually register it, with
Yeah.
the
Because from my
Library of
understanding,
Congress.
once you put something out, you're protected automatically for 1 year from
Yeah,
the day you put something out.
yeah,
So, you got a year of
yeah,
kind of like a free copyright, but
yeah,
the year goes by in the
yeah,
snap of a finger. So if this
yeah,
is, you know, even if it's not a project you're kind of sure of,
yeah,
if you're putting it out there, look, I'm banging my mic. If you're putting it out there, protect it, man. It's
yeah,
costly, but what you could lose or potentially lose is a lot. It's a lot
yeah,
more,
yeah.
and that's the last thing you want to do.
Right. Because
You know.
yeah, even if you think it's something goofy that nobody would steal, I mean, look at The Simpsons. That was goofy and it did great. All those, the Ninja Turtles. That was a independent book, as you know,
Now
and
look, it's $1 billion
yeah,
IP.
and that's the goofiest idea ever. But it took off, And what if somebody would have stole that from those guys, man?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
History would have
billion
been
dollar
made.
IP. Yeah, you
Yeah,
never know.
yeah,
What you may think is the goofiest idea,
yeah,
people may love it. People
yeah,
may love it. Like we see so much stuff on TV, movies, social
yeah,
media, the craziest things, and
yeah,
they they make a they tend to make tons of money as long as it's captivating. People are drawn into it. It's got that
yeah,
something where it's like, wow, like The Simpsons. That first came out on the Tracy Ullman show, I think it was,
yeah,
back in the
yeah,
day before it even became a show on its own. And then now look, it went from a little skit segment to one of the
yeah,
longest running animated cartoons in history. What, they're up to like
yeah,
30 years or something like
yeah.
that.
Well, the Simpsons is interesting because he actually Matt Groening that
Yeah.
writes and draws all that. He actually did that when he had an office job. He was doing that, making little mini comics. It was called Life in Hell, and he was drawing them, not coloring them. He was just drawing them with an ink pen and a Sharpie, and then going to the copier and copying them off, cutting them in force and stapling them together in the office when he was bored and giving them away. He was
Yeah.
giving them away and selling them for 35 cents a copy to other people and giving them to
Now
his
look.
friends. And
Now
it turned
look.
into, yeah,
Look, and
yeah,
and not just the Simpsons. He's got other he's created other animated TV shows as well. There's so
yeah,
many. The Futurama too
yeah,
isn't the
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That was,
Futurama was is I'm not gonna say just as, I don't think anything is just as big as the Simpsons, but it was
yeah,
big, huge
yeah,
following, huge cult following, man.
yeah.
You know, yeah, like now,
Paul Stanley from Kiss told me one time I got a gig doing some corporate gigs with Kiss as Paul Stanley's guitar tech. And it's
yeah.
just a handful of gigs. And I remember I was in my 20s and we were talking one day and he said, success breeds success. And
Mm.
that's the Matt Groening is a perfect example because once he got The Simpsons, then people will listen to anything he's got to say and
Yeah,
look at anything he wants to show. And
exactly.
so
Yeah,
success definitely breeds success. Once you get lightning to strike one time, it's real easy to get it to strike again and again.
exactly. Especially when it's so big, like
Mhm.
people start to invest in you as the
Yeah,
creator, opposed to the project you created. And I feel like
right,
that's the biggest thing. Like, and some people tend to forget that it's you want people to buy into, not your project.
right,
Because whatever you put
exactly.
out, they automatically, oh, Chris put this out. The last three things he did, amazing. I'm already
Yeah,
on board with the next one. I don't even know what it's about, but
right.
so far so good, and I'm trying to ride the wave. And that's just, that's the mindset you got to be on. Like me, I people, people like, you've done music, you've done comics. Like, what do you do? I said, I don't sell neither. I sell me.
Yeah,
I'm the product. I'm the
right.
product. I want people to invest in malice and me. This is me. This
Yeah,
I'm the product. So whatever I put out, whether it's a podcast or a new song or a new comic book or a novel, they're like, okay,
yeah.
this I'm with it. I'm with it.
Mhm.
I'm definitely following because that's what you want. You want people
Right.
to because like you said, lightning hits once. You
Yeah,
wanna you wanna get stuck in that storm constantly, next
yeah,
project, next project until
yeah,
you're you know what I'm saying? You're just good.
yeah,
And that's how you gotta do it, man. Like Nike, Nike could put out the worst any product, but you buying it because of brand loyalty.
yeah.
Brand loyalty.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I've
Now,
seen that in the guitar industry too. I mean, I've seen,
yeah. And you've
even
worked for Gibson,
yeah,
Fender, those are huge brands,
yeah.
and
And I've seen them
people are
put out
gonna
some turds.
yeah, exactly. But people are still gonna gravitate towards that because it's Gibson. It's
Yeah,
Fender. They don't they're brand loyalty, They may not like it, but they bought it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And at
exactly.
the end of the day, that's what counts. You
Yeah,
know, they paid, five, $600, $1,000, whatever it is,
yeah,
because, you know, because of the name. And
yeah,
that's what it's about.
yeah,
That's exactly what it's about. Now getting you know, back into the creative aspect, especially dealing with your health issues. Like,
yeah.
how does creating kind of hit? Like, I'm not gonna say heal you, but like, how does it make you feel when you're putting out these projects and people are just they're loving it? Like, like I was falling in love with the artwork. Like, how does that make you feel? You know?
Oh, it feels great. Like I said a while ago, before I, working for other people, even though I was proud of what I did, um, you're making somebody else's dream come true, and then
Yeah.
doing something like this, doing your own project, you're making your dream come true, and it really lights
Hmm.
a fire under you to get up every day, even though like I said, some days it's all I can do to get out of bed. I'm just, I know I'm having a bad one, it's like any other thing, any other health issue, sometimes you
Yeah.
have good day, people with high sugar, it's like some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. On the good days, I hit it with all eight cylinders,
Yeah.
and try and
Hmm.
get something done. And there's days I'm just like, man, I'm going to lay here for a while and watch TV because I'm not feeling it. But I tell you, when I've got cons lined up or signings, it really, um, lights a fire under me. I get in a good mood and get excited, and the
Yeah.
night before I'm getting all my stuff together, and it reminds me of the old days on the road, getting ready for a
Yeah.
gig,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of similarities,
yeah,
like, I mean, you're not on the road, uh, millions of people,
yeah,
lights everywhere. It's a
yeah,
more calmer scene, but
yeah,
the anxiety is still there. That
yeah,
rush is still
yeah.
there, like
Excitement.
it's a different environment, but the feelings are still all
Yeah.
the same.
Instead of performing, it's like a day long meet and greet, where the meet and
Yeah.
greets after the show, with the band, this is like a whole day of a meet and greet. It's a blast, get pictures made and signing books
Oh
and
yeah.
prints and stuff for
And
people. And,
just meeting these strangers who you don't know from a hole in the wall. Like,
right.
wow, I love
Yeah.
this, man. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a comparable feeling when it comes to people just enjoying what you're putting out, especially, who knows us. No one really,
Yeah.
we're not these big dog artists or writers or creators that work for, for Marvel or DC or Image. You know, we're at the bottom of the barrel, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that
What they're
people
making
show us
about
that
as much
love,
money as they
yeah.
make it Marvel and DC. The money's about the same these
Exactly.
days.
So I feel like the love that we get is a little more, I don't know, I think
More
it's a
sincere,
little,
I think.
yeah, it's more
Yeah.
value behind that,
Yeah.
because we're also not, our work isn't pumped out to like 10,000 issues or anything like that. It's we pumping out what we could pump out, and then
Yeah.
it's just trending and gaining its own legs, and those few
Yeah.
people that like it, they're like, wow, man, this is amazing. Like, I love it. Tell me more. And I feel like sometimes that's more rewarding
Yeah.
than anything else. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Because
You
you're
know,
making your dream come true and not somebody else's. That's it.
yeah. Especially a complete stranger, different
Yeah.
environment, different everything. They just like, this is great, and it's
Yeah.
just like, wow, thank you. Just
Yeah.
that little compliment to me sometimes is it's a little more valuable than selling one book, you know? Just to,
Yeah.
wow, this is great. I love it. But,
Absolutely.
before we, kind of wrap things up and bring it to a close, one thing I like to do with all my guests is, kind of what kind of feedback or, do you have any hidden gems you could provide to any upcoming creators or people that are already in the game, just trying to kind of looking for a foundation or a base, like getting into this field? Like, do you have any words of wisdom for us?
Um, at the risk of sounding cliche, just believe in what you're doing.
Hmm.
I know it sounds cliche, and I know a million people have said it, but it holds true. Just
Yeah.
believe in it and just put your nose to the grindstone and try and get it done and get it done to the best. Do your absolute best work
Hmm.
because you're going to be under a microscope more than somebody that works for Dark Horse or Marvel or DC. Um, because it's people go into that with rose-colored glasses on, when they buy those books because they automatically think it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread because it's got that logo on it. Like we were
Hmm.
saying a while ago about the brand familiarity.
Yeah.
And so they've got rose colored glasses on when they pick up a Batman book or whatever, even though I love Batman.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm guilty of it too. I'll pick it up and just I'll ignore all the stuff, the mistakes that I see and stuff. I'll ignore all that. But anyway, your books are going to be under a microscope more so than anything because
Hmm.
but people want to see you succeed. That's the other
Yeah.
thing about having nerves about letting other people see your work or stuff like that. People want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail, really.
Yeah.
Other people want to see you do good. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and just you got to beat the bricks. You got to, no matter how small the con, little collector cons or whatever that may be in a school gymnasium, do
Anything.
them. Yeah, if
Yeah.
they charge $20 to go in there, you're not out anything but $20 and get you a few books printed up
Yeah.
and go in there and do the best you can. Just do,
Exactly.
just make your setup look as professional as possible. That's what I've done. I had a banner printed up and bought a red tablecloth for my table and everything. I tried to make it look like I tried to make it look like I'm, you know, uh, Todd McFarlane or somebody,
Yeah.
and make people go, "Oh, I've never heard of this guy. I'm going to check him out because
Yeah.
he looks like he's been doing it a while,
Exactly.
But
That
did
that
everything I could to
aesthetic,
make
that
yeah,
aesthetic just makes people be like, "Wow,
yeah,
he's got all this. He's got banners. He's got
yeah,
custom made tablecloths, and who
right,
is he?" That kind
yeah,
of the more you invest in yourself, people are gonna see it.
Right.
and
Make yourself look very professional, and people are going to treat you as such, and they're going to give your book another look, in your
yeah,
prints and whatnot. And then the other thing is, don't just sell books, get some prints out there.
mhm.
That's because
I'm
even
glad you
even
said
though,
that.
'cause you wouldn't believe the people that come up and they look at my book, they'll grab one of my books and they'll go, "Wow, this is really cool art." But I'm not really a comic book person, and they'll set
But
it
they
back
love
down.
posters.
But they'll
Hmm.
look at my posters and my prints and go, "But this is cool. This would look
Yeah,
good in my." I had a guy the other day. I was doing a thing over in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and he came by my table and he said, "Your books look great. I wish I was into comics, but I'm not. I'm not into horror or comics, but your prints, though." He said this would look good hanging up in my. He had a recording studio up the
yeah,
street from where I was, and he said this would look cool in the lobby of my studio. And he bought a couple prints and had me sign them, and he was going to go frame them and
yeah.
hang them in the
Prince.
studio. So try and have some, and I even have some stickers that
Hmm.
different things for my books too. And people
Oh
dig
yeah,
stickers. So even though they're a buck a piece, I have people
yeah.
come in
And
and
it's so
buy them.
cheap to print, and you could
Yeah,
get a higher profit margin off of those
yeah.
things,
Sticker Monkey,
and
you get 100 of them for $29, or
yeah,
I think it was
you could.
Sticker Monkey that I used.
Yeah, exactly. And you could sell them for like $3. I've seen people sell them for $5. That
Yeah,
and the actual cost is probably like 10 cents a print,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. I think
Is a big
nobody ever just buys one. They come in and buy a handful.
yeah, especially prints, man. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that you said that because I know a lot of people who they're not into making prints for their stuff, and me, I feel like that's important because
Yeah,
me, I love prints, and
yeah,
there's a lot of people that love prints too. Because, like you said, they may not be into the comic, they love your artwork. They
yeah,
wouldn't mind hanging a nice 11 by 17 or something on the
yeah,
wall,
yeah,
especially signed. They'll
yeah,
probably buy that over a comic. You always got to
yeah,
have options,
yeah,
and anything outside of the comic books is
yeah,
most likely a higher profit margin too. Even
yeah.
like stickers, you can hand some away for free. You're not
Yeah.
losing,
I
you
do that
know.
if they buy a print or a book or several, but
There you
like
go.
most people now, like the last couple of cons that I just did one in Hattiesburg 2 weekends ago, and I've got four books that completes the run, and people come in and they buy all four books, but the other thing is to not charge 15-20 bucks a book. I charge $5 a
Yeah.
book, and that
Hmm.
way I've got 250 in them, and I make 250 on each one.
Yeah.
And to keep your prices down where people will want to buy all for instead of just spending $5, they come in and spend 20 bucks because they want the whole run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But on that note, Chris, I want to thank you again for, joining the podcast, talking about your project and just, showing so much love, man. I cannot wait to, see what else you got coming out.
Absolutely.
And, like I said, I need that tattoo. Like I'm gonna call my daughter up right now because she does tattoos. I'm like,
Oh, nice.
get your shit ready because Dad just found some fire art. But
Thank you,
on
man.
on that note, yeah, man, thanks again for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for
And
having me, man. I really appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely, man. I'll keep you posted when the episode drops. You could
Okay.
share it. Don't forget to check out the YouTube as well, like and subscribe so you can be notified when everything drops. But Chris, have a great day, and once again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man.
Welcome, folks. Today we have Jonathan Colton of Colton Comics. He is the creator of Paul Bunyan versus Dracula and Three Brothers Griff, which are currently live on fundmycomics.com. And he's also a forensic sketch artist, which I definitely want to tap into today. I seen the video you sent me. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I definitely want to touch on that. But before we get started, say what's up, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me on. The Paul Bunyan versus Dracula, we launched that last year. We did a little over $3,000 with our first issue, which
Nice.
was a nice surprise because there was really no advertising. And it just kind of grabbed a hold of people. And then we kind of saw the same thing as I've had some issues printed and been going to Comic Cons locally, and a lot of people react to just the title. You know, they're walking by the table and they'll say, Paul Bunyan versus Dracula. Okay, I got to get that one. And, you know, that's kind of a nice reaffirming that your idea was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with the Three Brothers Gruff.
Yeah.
Now that there's a little bit more of a delay with that, okay? Because it depends on how familiar they are with the three Billy Goats Gruff tale.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, they say, oh, you know, they walk by and they say, oh, Three Brothers Gruff, is that like the Three Billy Goats Gruff? And so, you know, then I get to explain, and I'll say, yeah, it's like that. I said, except for Billy Goats, they're satyrs and they're troll hunters for hire. And then they usually say, oh, well, that's really cool. Well, that's cool. But in both cases, you know, as a writer, you come up with these ideas, and, you know, you can kind of stumble onto something and you're like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And then I have to hit Google. I'm like, someone has already done this before, I'm sure. And then I can't find anything. I'm like, okay, nobody's done this. All right, I guess it's on me then.
Yeah,
and
it looks pretty dope. I've seen the YouTube video so far. You sent me the stuff you sent me. Just I was looking at the video clip, especially for the Paul Bunyan versus Dracula. The artwork is amazing. Like, it looks beautiful.
Oh,
yeah, it definitely looks amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, I did the cover for that one.
Okay.
And some of the inking, and, you know, worked with the concept designs. But yeah, you know, you got to get the art right.
And you do the art.
I for these I do some of the art. I haven't done 100% of the art. But
that's what's up.
Yeah,
that's what's up. That you got you know, both hats on, your writer's hat and the artist cap. That's what's up.
Yeah, well, a little bit. You know, it's as a fan, you know, I was always disappointed whenever there was a new Frank Miller book out that he wrote but he didn't draw.
Yeah.
Or Mike Mignola would or Mignola, depending on, you know, if you're in Italy or not. But he would sometimes release Hellboy issues or trade paperbacks where he did the writing but not the art. And again, as a fan, I was always disappointed. Like, oh man, I don't want Hellboy if he doesn't do the art. But as a creator, I get it now, because comics they're way faster to write than they are to draw. So
absolutely.
and you want to get your ideas out there, so I understand it.
Yeah, no, I wish I could draw. Sadly, I can. God just blessed me with the gift of writing, but not the gift of drawing. I wish I could. I definitely wish I could. You know, but what made you want to create these projects, especially, you know, these stories in particular?
Well, I've been wanting to get into comics for a long time, and you know, things kind of get in the way. You get busy with life.
Yeah. And
I went to art school in San Francisco at the Academy of Art, after which I was a top 50 finisher in the 2007 comic book challenge, and got to go to San Diego and pitch my idea to a panel, and they were kind of looking at making a TV show out of that as well with AT&T. But I didn't win the contest, which, you know, for good or bad, that's the way it worked out. And, you know, then I started working for a local police department as a community service officer, and eventually as a police sketch artist and forensic artist. And, you know, you just kind of, you're paying your bills, you're going to work. You know, I did still attend some Comic Cons and show my portfolio around. And, you know, some editors were really nice. They would give me their business cards and say, hey, keep sending us samples every month. But, you know, I had kids to feed, and you at a certain point you have to choose, do I want to, you know, work the overtime that's already being offered to me, or do I want to work on samples? And
you got to kind of find where that balance works out.
Right. But now I'm at a point where I have to make comics. I have to do something with it, because it's just, you know, it's been this fire burning inside of me for so long that I have to make something of it. And last year, Paul Bunyan versus Dracula came to light. It started, I was watching a documentary with my son about the history of movie monsters.
Okay.
And, you know, and we're enjoying this, and they're kind of going through everything, you know, the creature from the Black Lagoon, King Kong, the Mummy, Dracula. And my son turned to me at one point and he said, you know, I don't think any of these guys could beat Paul Bunyan. And I was like, you know, he's got a point.
Yeah.
And that might make a good comic book. And
no, absolutely. Now, would you do Paul Bunyan versus any other character, like the Mummy or Frankenstein or anything? Like, are you gonna spin that off? Because that seems like a dope idea already.
Right. Well, time will tell. First, we're gonna finish the Dracula issues.
Nice. And how many issues is you plan on putting out for that one?
That should be 5 issues, and then a collected edition.
Nice.
And that, you know, my first idea, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon Godzilla versus Bambi. But
no.
Okay, so it's a short. It's out there online. But
I gotta check that out.
It's a match that takes about 3 seconds, you know. And basically it shows Bambi out there in the woods, and then all of a sudden this giant foot, and then that's the end of Bambi. And I thought, well, that might be the way that Paul Bunyan versus Dracula goes. If Paul Bunyan is, you know, as big as legend says. But what I really liked was in the series Game of Thrones, the way they portrayed giants in there. And I thought, well, if Paul Bunyan was about the same height as those giants, well, now we've got a good match on our hands.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then just to add to it, they could really have conflicting values. And so in the comic book, Dracula kind of represents old world and old Europe, and these kind of old ideas of there being royalty and kings, and some people being better than others. And Paul Bunyan just kind of represents, you know, this new world idea of men being created equal. And so that, you know, kind of elevates the conflict on a level so that it ties into the theme of the story.
Yeah. Okay.
And then with Three Brothers Gruff, I mean, first of all, it was my favorite story as a kid, you know, like I think probably as back as 2 and 3 years old.
Okay.
You know, just loved that story. Made my parents tell it to me over and over again. And that was kind of a bedtime routine at one point. And so I've just always felt like the Troll Hunters idea just seemed like a natural evolution of the basic story, and, you know, something that you could have a lot of fun with in a fantasy world. And, you know, it's It's been described as Narnia meets Conan the Barbarian, or
Nice.
Ninja Turtles meets Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And
Okay, I'm
you know,
digging that.
because it's about, it's about these three brothers, and they all have their talents, they all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses, and then they're tasked with rescuing this princess from this vicious troll. And then we find out the brothers and the troll actually have a little history together.
Okay.
And the mission or the quest that they've been tasked to do is not all it seems to be. And so it kind of plays into some, I guess, some more advanced themes about the way the world works and how people aren't always what they seem to be. And I'm actually working on a novelization of this story because
Oh, nice.
I had the whole script written before I approached anyone about working on it, because originally I thought, I'll just draw it myself. And hold on a second.
Okay.
So I just thought I would draw it myself, but then I came across this artist on Facebook, Vincenzo, and Vincenzo Mercoliano. He's out of Italy. I really loved his artwork, and
Oh yeah,
it
looks nice. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm gonna show this on when I edit everything and I throw on the episode. The artwork is, beautiful.
Yeah, no, he is top tier.
Wow.
Italy has a great school for comic book artists called Scuola di Fumetti. And in Italy, they don't call them comic books. They call them fumetti, which means like little puffs of smoke. And they call them that because someone at some point looked at the word balloons and they thought that the characters were smoking. Like they thought the word balloons looked like little...
I can see that, yeah.
Little puffs of smoke.
I can see
so,
that.
Yeah, it's kind of... Because it's a name that doesn't really make any sense, but in a lot of ways, comic books doesn't make any sense either. Because comic means that there's something funny about it, but they're not necessarily always funny.
No.
Like, sometimes they are, but, But anyways... So I contacted Vincenzo. No way I could afford this guy. Like, he's a world-class artist. Like, but he read the script and he loved it. And, he read the whole thing. I think it was like 120 pages, a comic script that wasn't in comic book format yet. So when it's all said and done, the whole graphic novel might be 250, 260 pages.
Wow.
But, he read the whole thing.
Thick book.
Yeah. Well, and you can kind of see that when you look at the pages, like there's a lot of panels in each page because there's a lot going on. And it's not like...
so beautiful.
Yeah. It's not like one of these comics where there's like 2 or 3 panels per page, and you're going to be done reading it in 2 minutes. But yeah, Vincenzo really brought some synergy to the situation, and he did stuff differently than I would have, but also better. And that's kind of a tough thing for an artist to say. Oh yeah, you definitely draw better than me, dude. But he changed up some of my designs, and you can see that in the book where he put the characters in this kind of medieval plated armor, with latches and belts and straps and all these details. And I kind of had them running around a lot more basic, kind of like, in a Conan type loincloth, just because it's easier to draw muscles than draw all that armor. And, he was showing me some of the character designs, and I was like, are you sure you really want to do all this? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Like, if it was me, they would lose that armor fast in battle, just because I don't want to go through all that trouble on every page. But,
it looks great.
But he's up for it and drawing it the way he likes, and it's definitely adding some dimensions to the comic book.
Did he color it, or did you color it, or someone else color it?
No, we have another colorist.
Okay. Yeah, no, everything looks. This is amazing. This is beautiful. Like,
thank you.
Wow.
Thank
and
you
this
very
is going
much.
to be just a graphic novel, or you're going to break it up into issues as well?
Yeah, this is going to be 5 issues as well. Okay. And the first issue, which is our starter, is 24 pages of story and art, plus some bonus material. And what I'm hoping to do is make enough off the first issue that issue two can be like 40 pages.
Okay.
Or 44. And the same thing with issue 3, 4, and 5. So that each subsequent issue has even more story in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're almost there. You're at 63%, and you still got some time. Oh yeah, this is.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see this done. I can't. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna pick this up as well. This is beautiful. Like, wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's still a little bit of time, but if you're listening,
how's
back in today.
How's the marketing experience behind this? Like, has it been difficult for you, and what platforms are you using? Just Facebook or other social media platforms?
Well, I haven't bought any ads. So right now, all of the marketing is just through myself sharing it, podcasts like this, and Twitter. Okay. And it's getting a heck of a response.
Yeah, I can see why. Like they say, first impressions mean a lot, especially when it comes to independent work. We don't really have that name behind us like the Marvel or DC, or we don't got that big name brand where people are like, oh, let me go pick up this new project from this huge company that I know. So that first impressions are a lot, and I'm sold just off the first impression. So, and then to get deep into it and start reading it and following the story, oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, the artwork is definitely chef's kiss to him. Give him a round of applause for me. No, he's something else. It's every time he would turn in pages, I was like, man, how did I get this lucky? It's like I feel like I hired a big name. It's like I got Jim Lee or John Byrne working for me. And now, you mentioned a few minutes ago how you met him, and he's expensive to hire. Like, did you work out like a deal with him? Like, is like the collaborations really work out? Still work out there? Because I see a lot of people in the groups that I'm always browsing around, and I've seen the topic of collaborations come up, and I see a bunch of people that are let's do it, and I also see a lot of bashing behind it. Like how did that work out for you?
Well, I think once we agreed to terms.
Yeah.
Like I just make sure I'm going to hold up my end.
Yeah.
And, like if I say once you finish, like let's say 4 pages, right?
Yeah.
Every 4 pages you get paid. I make sure they get paid.
Yeah.
And the other thing that, I've had to adjust is not really being critical. Because, as an artist and a writer, like I have my own ideas about what it's supposed to look like. And a lot of times it was not the same.
Yeah.
And I just had to kind of keep my ego in check and look at this page and be like, okay, like, you know, I'm talking to myself, like, you know, hey, John, I know you pictured this a little different, but does that difference matter? And is this a damn good looking page? Because if it is, then there's nothing to say. Just, you know, just tell him what a great job he did. And so that's kind of been, you know, kind of been my operating system for that. You know, I give him tons of praise, which he really appreciates. Make sure he gets paid on time. And
that's always most important.
And you know, and just look forward to the next pages, because we're always going to have something, you know, something we can nitpick about, or something could be a little different, or I pictured this differently, you know. But I mean, like, hey, you know, it's I got to realize. A, this is great work. Like, he did a fantastic job. And B, I'm not Grant Morrison or Mark Waid. So, you know, like, and it is a little challenging sometimes, you know, cause it's your baby, right?
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
And you know, and you care a lot, but, I mean, for myself, Now that being said, I also have to acknowledge I got extremely lucky. You know, like he's extremely hardworking, really professional, and just one heck of a dynamite artist. And you know, that makes it a little easier for me to keep my ego in check too. So
okay. Now, you know, with certain changes that he produced compared to kind of what you had in your head, did that ever make you go back and kind of have to revise certain things, or it just worked out by happenstance and you could just keep moving forward?
You know, we got in one, what I would call disagreement at a certain point. And that was over character designs of the troll, who was kind of the main villain of the story. And we don't see him till later, but we were able to hash that out, and
that's what's up. At least you were able to, like, did you stick with his design, or you kind of like met in the middle somewhere, or we just stuck to the original, what you kind of had in mind for that idea?
Well, I think we met in the middle.
Okay.
But you know, it's important. Like, you have to look at what you've communicated and realize if you made a mistake, you know, because we use words and sometimes pictures, but we still might have something in our head that's different. Like, we picture it differently.
Yeah.
But they don't see the pictures in your brain. So that might not be fair. And so, you know, sometimes compromise is how you get to where you're going.
Okay, yeah. Especially, you know, when both people are, you know, collaborating on the project. So it's more than just, you know, I'm hiring an artist or I'm hiring a writer. Like, you guys are gonna be part of the project, you know. Sometimes that input, you know, it could help the cause. Because, I mean, there's been times where, you know, I've gotten back some work that wasn't what I had in mind, but I'm like, you know what? I kind of dig it. Like, it makes a little more sense. You know, that's why I kind of let the artist, this is my story, this is my vision, do what you do best to it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're the artist. I know what I'm writing. I know what it should look like up here, but I'm not good with this. You know what I'm saying? And you are. So let me see what you can create, and that may be exactly what I need. You know, that's why a lot of times I let them just do what you do. You know, if I needed to change, we'll take it from there. You know.
Yeah. So if I had any advice for writers out there, it might be just get the first step right. Make sure you pick the right artist to collaborate with in the first place, and then just let them cook. Just let them go and do their thing. And like I said, 90% of the time, what he was turning in was way more than I had envisioned. Like way more detail, way more clothing, more world building. And so there was a real synergy happening to where we were, like I coach basketball, and if you're doing things right as a team, you end up making each other better by playing together, and the teammates.
Absolutely.
It's like I tell the kids, like if you want to get points, don't try to get open. Try to get one of your teammates open. Yeah. And if you do that, everybody's going to get baskets. Yeah, absolutely. And once that clicks and they start to see that, and then they start setting screens and picks and doing everything they can to get their teammates open, and then somehow by magic, the ball ends up in their hands. That's what you hope for in those type of collaborations.
Now, do you have any? Do you have any cons set up for this year? You plan on hitting the con circuit with your books this year?
Yeah, I'm still working that out. What this summer is going to look like. I'm hoping to get to a few different places this summer. Looking at Salt Lake and Las Vegas and Phoenix. Nice. And possibly Stockton, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
And all those places are kind of my old stomping grounds and places that I've lived at and been to before. So.
All right. Yeah. Now, do you, aside from the books, will you be having any, do you do prints? Do you do variant covers? I know you had the blank sketch variant. That's always great. My daughter loves the blank sketch variant. So you're going to have any other covers to go along with either title?
Yeah, well, right now what we've got on fundmycomic.com and Three Brothers Gruff is we have the cover A, which is the single cover. Cover B is the wraparound cover. Yeah. And you can also get that as a poster or a jigsaw puzzle. And then we have the blank sketch variant cover, which I think we're all a fan of. I mean, when I first saw those, I was like, wow, how has this not been around the whole time?
Oh yeah, and they sell for decent money. I've seen blank sketches go for like $30-$40. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. So if
she draws.
I have a friend who is always texting me whatever he's got from the latest con, and like I think he had a blank sketch cover drawn by Clayton Crane of Ghost Rider, and it was just magnificent, just a great piece.
Oh, I bet.
And so it's like
beautiful.
If you're one of those guys who is curious, hey, what the Three Brothers Gruff might look like, drawn by Sal Valuto or Frank Cho, that would be awesome. I would love to see those.
Absolutely, man. So what is the best part about the whole process for you? Like just creating the whole idea. Like, what do you love the most about it?
Well, I think, the saying is a writer writes. And I think the same goes for an artist. you kind of can't help it, and it comes out of you. And what surprised me was I kind of switched hats, from being an artist, and then trying to be a writer. And when I was writing, I got behind the keyboard, and I was surprised I felt like, I guess you could call it fear, or some type of intimidating factor. But I was worried that when I was writing, when I write and I put something out there, you're kind of exposing your brain to the world. And you're like, oh, these are my thoughts. And so that kind of made me a little bit apprehensive. But I still had, to persist in that. Now, there's a publisher in San Jose, California, called Kitchen Sink Press. And at one point, I did a summer workshop with them. And they had a writer's workshop and an artist workshop. And the writer's workshop had available spots. The artist workshop filled up super fast. And so they said, well, we don't have any artist spots left. Like maybe you'd want to go into the writer's workshop. And so I was like, yeah, great. Comic book writers. Sounds awesome. But what I found was, and this is as someone who had been going to art school and been around a lot of artists a lot, writers and artists' brains are really wired differently. And in terms of the things that they talk about, the things that they read, I mean, even like, I guess the foods they like, I was just kind of like amazed at the writer's shorthand, because writers will talk about other writers, and a lot of writers outside of comic books, because they also read a lot of books. And they were not talking about comic book artists like nearly as much. The artists talk about artists like almost 100%. And then the writers,
it seems like they stick to their, to their peoples more or less,
Right. And it seemed like artists were a lot more into sports and a lot of other things happening, and writers were a lot more into politics and writers, and and when I was when I was first being exposed to this, they would talk about, the writers group would talk about psychologists and like French writers and Russian writers who I had never studied before and never heard of. And I was just kind of like, oh, like, I guess I have a lot of homework to do. Like, I'm I'm not quite a fish in water in this group. But that kind of changed over time. And so that's interesting. And I think it just reflects why there are so few of those guys like a Mike Mignola, a Frank Miller, a Walt Simonson, the guys who are like, I'm the writer, I'm the penciler, I'm the inker. That's a rare breed because, just very few people's brains are going to be that acrobatic. And also, it's just a lot of work to to write pencil and ink a graphic novel yourself.
It's a lot of work. Sometimes, like, even just having someone to pencil, ink, and then even color is a lot. Let alone just writing. And then you got to letter the thing too, so that's just a lot of work for one person.
Well, that's why those are all different jobs. And even the guys we're talking about, they don't do the lettering themselves because you can only be so masochistic.
like I met one person. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do all the work myself." I'm like, "Do you know the amount of work that's involved?" Like, yeah, I could draw, I could write. I'm like, okay, it's gonna take you like a year to put out each issue.
Yeah, that was kind of my initial thought as well. You know, like you want to do it all yourself as a creative person. You have that drive, but then there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah,
and so much time in a year.
Like a year.
Right.
To put out one issue is going to take a year, and by that time, people are going to forget. Yeah, we don't remember much. You know what I'm saying? Like now, if it goes past a week or two without seeing any new content, it's like, who are you again? Like, I don't remember you. Like we just get bombed with so much new information every day. It's like you gotta constantly keep putting it out there, reposting. It's a lot of work too, man. Just not putting together the comic is one thing, but then you gotta put on your marketing hat. You've gotta put on your. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more than what most people think goes into putting out. Not even just being an independent creator, because whatever it is, it's art, music, novels. A lot of work goes into it because you gotta be the end all be all. You want you want to make sure everything goes according to plan.
Yeah, it's several full-time jobs rolled into one. And,
now, how was it going from like a sketch artist to a comic book artist? Like, how was that? Like, I've never met a police sketch artist before. I mean, I've always seen the drawings on the news. Like, how does that work? Like, you ever catch anybody with with the images you draw? Like, how close to the actual person you ever got? With the drawings, I've always wondered that. Like, did the person really look like how the drawing was?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, again, it goes back to keeping your ego in check. Yeah. Because as a sketch artist, you're a trained artist, but you also, the rule that I was given. And the instructors I had like 30 years of experience with the FBI. And they taught me when the victim or the witness says, that's him, it's pencils down. That's when you stop. Okay. And you might want to keep going because you're thinking, oh, well, I know I could draw it better than this.
Yeah.
But as soon as the witness says that's him, you got to drop your pencil and stop. The drawing's complete at that point. And but the quality of the drawing, it depends 100% on the witness.
Yeah.
And so you have some witnesses who are very sharp. They have a great memory, and they know exactly what this person looked like, and and they work through it perfectly. And so what ended up happening, and I worked all kinds of cases. Where I worked was in the California Bay Area, and they have some of the highest crime rates in the whole country. And so I got to work carjackings, robberies, attempted murders. I mean, anything you can think of that's a felony.
Yeah.
I probably did a sketch for it at some point. And
that seems, I mean, not to glorify crime, but that just seems very interesting, being a crime sketch artist like that. It seems so cool.
Well, what's nice about it is you really get to help these victims get over some of their trauma, and help them feel empowered a little bit, that they kind of get to fight back now.
Yeah.
And they're taking steps to make sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to anyone else. Yeah. And so that part of it was pretty gratifying. And then, like you asked about when does it look, sometimes it does look exactly like the person. And you have this drawing where the witness just nailed it. And, and then at work, the detective bureau, sometimes they would put my drawing up next to the mugshot, just so everyone could see how exactly close it was. And they, they would tell me like, oh yeah, you really did a great job on this one. You really knocked it out of the park here. But I would try to explain to them, no, that was not me. That was the witness, because I know there were other drawings where it looked nothing like the guy. And they would be like, oh, you really blew it here. And I'm like, no, that wasn't me either. That was the witness, I just drew what they told me, So.
Oh man, but it must be a crazy feeling to know, like, my artwork helps people. It has helped to put criminals away, to give victims some sort of closure. Like, that's got to be like a different feeling in its own, like, wow. Like, I could only imagine.
It's nice to be making a difference, and and helping out the community. And it's funny because one of the things that I learned was you have to meet the witness where they're at.
Yeah.
And sometimes they might be just in an emotional state where you have to help them find some calm, or they might be, and especially in the Bay Area community, there's a lot of hostility towards the police, a lot of anti-cop sentiment, and a lot of people who don't want to, be a snitch, so-called. And,
I feel you.
And it's like, oh, well, you don't want to snitch, but you just got out of the hospital and you had your money in your car taken from you. Like, are you sure you don't want that to happen again?
Exactly.
And so sometimes you kind of have to help work people towards cooperation. And so that was kind of a surprising aspect of the job.
Wow. That's, that's one thing I love about what I'm doing with the podcast, is getting to meet different creators. Like, we don't, we see them for what they're doing. They're making their comics or whatever it is, but we don't get to see the whole story outside of, what they're doing. And sometimes just understanding someone's journey, it's a great, it's a great story to hear. Like, I've never met an artist that was a police sketch artist. That's to me, that's amazing, and I've met, other creators that did, other things, especially how they utilize their artwork in their normal day to day, and I feel like it's so dope. You know what I'm saying? It's such a great thing to see, because, I feel like a lot of people just see, oh, you're an artist, you just do comic books or draw, like, no, like, I'm out here saving lives, or I'm doing, artwork for this or for that, and I think that's so cool, man. I think that's so cool. So, after, your books successfully fun, because I could see that happening with no problem. Like I said, the artwork looks amazing. From what you've told me so far, it looks great. What's next? Like, what else do you see you may have down the pipeline, let's say in the next 5 years?
Okay, well, all right. First, I want to touch back on something you said.
Yeah.
Now, you like, I think comic creators are, and I know there's a lot of animosity and egos out there on the internet. In my experience, they've all been some of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Oh yeah.
And and I've only had a handful of experiences with that, like I got to meet Sam Keith at one point,
Okay.
and Steve Lieber at
Okay.
a convention, and had a great conversation with him, and Kevin Eastman, one of the
Mm-hmm.
co-creators of the Ninja Turtles.
And Turtles. Mm-hmm.
But all of them have been just fantastic as far as I was able to tell.
Yeah.
And but you're right that there's always more layers to a person than
Mm-hmm.
just them being a comic creator. And what comes to
Yeah.
mind for me is, Jack Kirby and the time that he spent as an artist in World War II, and that he was in some of the biggest battles of World War II, and and he was there on D-Day, and he helped liberate a concentration camp, and he was also going as a reconnaissance officer, doing sketches behind enemy lines, in extreme danger the whole time. And so, it's like Jack Kirby,
Right.
he didn't just create Captain America, he was Captain America.
It was. Absolutely.
And, it's, and I think of Larry Hama. And, Larry Hama, he wrote the Nam and a ton of G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe's.
And,
Mm-hmm.
but Larry Hama was also a Vietnam veteran. And so, he didn't just write G.I. Joe, he was G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's the caliber of people that are in comics. And I think it's some of the best people out there. And now I've forgotten what your question was.
What I would say was, after, your current projects, they're out, you've already successfully made them. Like, well, what does Colton Comics have in the pipeline for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
Are you expanding on anything, or do you have completely new stories you eventually want to put out? What can we expect to see in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I hope these continue to fund well, and we can keep pushing, because just speaking for myself, I have about 5 series that I see that could be ongoing series, and probably about another 50 that are graphic novels, where I have concepts for, I have outlines, I have characters, I have full scripts in some cases. And so there's been a lot of writing that's been going on behind the scenes, and a lot of note-taking and research. And, once the dam breaks, all the flood can come forth. Hopefully. So
listen, from what I've seen so far, I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah.
You seem like you've got the project on point. You teamed up with some amazing artists. You're an artist yourself. I could definitely see this definitely going somewhere. Absolutely.
Well,
no problem.
I had an interesting experience about a year and a half ago. And at the bequest of my wife, I went to see a neuropsychologist. Now, I was getting my teaching degree, and when you're getting your teaching certification, you get trained to recognize certain disorders and behaviors with the students, right? And so one of the things we learned about was how to recognize dyslexia.
Yeah.
And another one was ADHD. Well, in our introduction to ADHD, there was a 12-question panel. And they said, if a student checks 6 of these 12 boxes, they probably have ADHD and should be tested. And so I kind of ran that test on myself, and I checked 11 of the 12 boxes. And so I was like, oh, I probably have this, the whole time. and never knew. And then I got officially tested by a doctor. It was like a 7-hour battery of games and tests. And the doctor said, well, basically, I was a fascinating subject. He said, you are in the worst 5% of attention deficit disorder. He said, I do not know how you finished high school, let alone college, because most people that are at this level would not have finished high school.
Now I'm curious. I want to take this test.
And so I was like, okay, and I've been learning a bit about that off and on, but it kind of explains some things about my brain. And so, you asked about the 5-year idea. Like, I have stories, characters, and ideas, like for fantasy comics, science fiction, superhero stuff, historical, basically any genre you can think of. There's something in the pocket ready to go.
Okay.
And, it's just a question of what's next. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is just figuring out what you're going to work on next. But for now, I want to get these two graphic novels first. And I will say, with the Three Brothers Gruff, I already have 7 graphic novels potentially ready to go as part of this epic story. And so, if the first one does good, part 2 will be coming right away, and then part 3, and we can keep it going. Whereas Paul Bunyan versus Dracula, it's 5 issues, a trade paperback, and then that's done. And,
nice.
And they're both kind of nice,
No, absolutely. Like, and I can't wait to, I would love to see if you go anywhere else with Paul Bunyan. Like, is he going to fight the Mummy, Frankenstein? I want to see him just kick some serious ass. Absolutely. But on that note, before we come to a close, one thing I like to do is, I like to, whoever I'm speaking with, ask for any advice that they would give to any up and coming creators, just, looking for whatever kind of gems you may have with the experience you've gained being a creator.
Well, I think the thing that often gets overlooked is most of us learn by doing. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of like that, oh my gosh, what's the name of that actor from the movie Holes? And he was
Shia
also
LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got his motivational video where he says, just do it. Have you seen this one? Yeah. And he's like, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Just like that is actually wisdom. Because a lot of us, and especially artists, we're looking for someone's approval, and we will kind of do sample pages over and over again, and hope that Marvel or DC is going to open the door and let me in. But I think what I've observed over time is they tend to open that door and let you in when you've done some indie comics, because that shows them you can actually do a whole comic or do a whole graphic novel. And also you have that much more experience under your belt. So whatever you can do to just do it and get something done, collaborate with someone online or collaborate with some local creators and just make a comic book, make a graphic novel, then you're vested. You have something. and you've done something and you have something that you can show, and it's not just 3 or 5 sample pages. It's like, hey, here's 60 pages I drew. And then, that's, like I said, that's the way most of us learn. And so you just kind of, it's like learning to walk, right? Any of us that have
get up and do it.
yeah. A baby's learning how to walk. It's going to fall on its butt. It's going to cry because, it's going to get hurt. And you might get a little hurt along the process, but that's part of growth. And that's part of getting better.
On. Yeah, you learn. We learn from the mistakes. We learn from the bumps and the bruises. We learn what walls at least try to not hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Once again, Jonathan, I want to thank you for joining us today, man. I'm gonna have your links for your fund my comics below. Make sure you guys check it out. Trust me, what you see, you're gonna wind up backing immediately. And please, because I want to see the rest of what we got, of what he's got down the pipeline. So we've got to make sure he hits his goal. You know what I'm saying? But Jonathan, once again, man, thank you for joining us today, and I wish you the best of luck. And I can't wait to have you back on the next time so we can talk about, what else you got going on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
You're very welcome, man. Thanks so much.
All right.
Joe, come on. You already know. Another one in a bucket, man. That was 2 dope interviews. Big shout outs to Fear the Incisors and Colton Comics. Y'all are doing your thing heavy. Make sure y'all check out the links below, man. Make sure y'all follow them. Support their crowdfunding campaigns. Check out their work, man. It's beautiful. It's dope. It's fire. And don't forget to subscribe and like the YouTube channel. You know what I mean? And also, I'm going to say it again. Don't forget to check out the website, villainarchives.com. You already know. On that note, it is your boy, Mal, and I'm out. Bong, bong.